A wise man once said, "You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain." 15 years later, and that's still a killer line.
Blocked by James! LeBron James with the... Oh my goodness.
No character arguably shows this more than the man, the eternal villain, the eternal law scatterer, Gabriel against. And people complaining about LeBron's finals record. But he is inspiration for today's video. This whole video came due to the idea of season 5 and me thinking about the whole season as a whole. And one character that had the most change and character development from season 5 is Gabriel against, in which we got the whole aggressive family past and really what I like to call the whole psychosis of Gabriel, while he is literally dying physically too. Either that or he just wanted to try the reverse Michael Jackson treatment. So in this video, I would like to talk about the current Gabriel and how he has become the antithesis of what he was in the past and stood for at one time. In order to start this discussion, let's talk about the past first. Let's talk about the past of Gabriel for what we've learned up through season 5. Gabriel early on in his life was a hopeful fashion designer who at the time only had dreams and hopes at the time. Pretty much most music or theater majors after they graduate college end up working at Kroger's, even with their master's degrees. As noted by Aubrey, Chloe's mom, he didn't have money and was just starting out on his journey, but still had the hope of becoming a fashion designer. As seen by the Mind Theater play in the representation episode of season 5, Gabriel's wife, Emily, was a free spirit, kinda always did what she wanted, and was born what seems to be upper class to nobility, in which things were expected for her. She was to marry for the family and not necessarily for love. Even with that background, she still dated Gabriel, who at the time wasn't necessarily noble class worthy, which is the equivalent of a millionaire's daughter fall in love with a musician hoping to make it big time. So Emily pretty much says screws off to the family and pleasing Gabriel and marries him. Ends up eventually becoming that famous fashion designer and marrying a girl he liked. And you know the parents were pissed off because in the same episode, it was stated that it had been years before Emily saw her parents again after the marriage, and she only came to visit them because she was so desperate to have a child that she wanted to see her parents. Like when you get into a fight with your parents when you were younger, but you still needed food later that night and had to talk to them. They end up having a child, Adrian, who at this point is a side character because they did this man dirty near the end of season 5. They have Adrian thanks to using the Peacock Miraculous. This would pretty much cause Gabriel to become a shout-em-off later on, since he's trying to do this to save his wife, who was in a coma pretty much for using the damaged Peacock Miraculous, which the show never really specified, but I would assume it got broken by the time Gabriel found it and used it to give birth to Adrian. It can also be that Felix's dad broke it because of the monster he thought Felix was, as stated in the representation episode. So now that we got this introduction out of the way, let's talk about how Gabriel has changed. I would argue, one, that he no longer cares about his wife anymore, or that she's at least his number one priority anymore. Look no far than the season 5 episode Evolution. There's a scene in which Gabriel can save his wife, but then he literally chooses Ladybug over his wife. Ladybug set a trap for him, and all he had to do was walk like 2 feet and his wife would have been saved due to the flash drive he had, that information about saving the damaged peacock. But his desire to beat Ladybug was too much. Even though arguably the reason he did all of this was to save Emily. He could have saved his wife right there, but he didn't. He became the exact thing that kills his wife and not saves her at all. And if you think I'm exaggerating, Natalie, the woman that stood by his side this entire time, literally berates him because he literally killed his wife, which is the whole reason he became Shadowmoth. And now he has also killed Natalie himself. He's lucky all that happened to him was getting yelled at over the phone. Talk about the definition of toxic love. So instead of saving his wife, he became the thing that actually killed his wife. Is now taking someone else's life in Natalie, which is something he didn't really want to do all along. So now let's fast forward a bit more to the present. and we have Adrian and Marinette finally dating. The amount of blue balls us Miraculous fans had to deal with till we got this relationship. I'm not gonna lie, I gave up a long time ago and was super pushing my Marinette Cat Noir agenda relationship, part of the Love Square, which I still think is the best relationship pairing of the four. So now they're dating, and look what we have here. A famous celebrity / someone of probably nobility standing fall in love with a middle class person. Not only that, but a middle class person has a dream that they're following that may not lead to a lot of money. Ironically, also that dream just happens to be fashion designer, in which they try to design clothes that make people happier. I don't know. It just feels like I've seen this somewhere before. Like Goku being brought back to life on Dragon Ball Z. And guess what? One of the main obstacles to the relationship is Gabriel. And not only is he an obstacle to the relationship, he's trying to do multiple things to break up that relationship. He first hires Lila to start the relationship by promising her to be a model with his son and be the spokesperson for his company. Also, I'm not gonna lie, this might be the first season Chloe hasn't caused the most accumulations. That may go to Lila, cause that girl was on one in season 5. And then when she fails, he decides to get rid of her like that over a 30-second phone call. Like playing with a new toy after getting bored of the old one. Then he tries to hook up Adrian with a different female in Kagami, because it's better for the family, most likely just because the family has status, and after the fact that Adrian might or might not actually love this girl. Heck, Gabriel was so against the relationship since he thought Kagami would be better for Gabriel and the family due to the status and resources she brought, and Marinette didn't bring any of that, even though Adrian obviously had feelings for Marinette and had no feelings for Kagami at all. Also, Kagami deserves so much better. Luca also. Girl gets berated at home by her mother, falls in love, and the relationship literally ends without a reason. You had me fooled for the first 2 episodes of season 4. Then Gabriel tries to pull off the ultimate trump card to keep them from being together. At one point, he literally says to Marinette, I'll give you whatever you want, whether that be money, whatever dream you have. All you have to do is give up my son, because blatantly, you aren't good enough for my son. So we have a father from an extremely successful family, because supervillain lost streak aside, Gabriel is literally a world-famous fashion designer who turned his son into one of the most desirable models in France. You have the successful guy, and you have the successful son who is dating someone, but frankly, him and Marinette don't run in the same tax bracket. Adrian's room is about the same size as Marinette's whole house. Gabriel has to worry about which house to vacation in the summer, or other rich people stuff like that, or how to make millions, while not paying taxes. Marinette's complain about paying too many taxes. So you have a high status parent keeping his child from dating someone they believe lesser and ignoring the love the child could have for that person because it's best for their child. Not only that, that parent is saying because of your status you just can't date anyone to Adrian. And then that same parent is setting them up with someone else that the child obviously has no romantic feelings toward and has told you that multiple times. Pretty much similar to what happened with Felix's mom and their dad. Because in the representation episode, it was stated that Felix's mom had no really love interest for her dad. She just did it for the family. So pretty much Gabriel, who fell in love with someone, was pretty much royalty at the time because Emily was, like the royal family in England. Even though Gabriel himself actually didn't have much himself, still went after his heart, and so did Emily. Even if Emily knew she could be disbarred from her family and maybe never see them again, which did happen. Gabriel went through all that and is not keeping someone from experiencing that same love that he once experienced that he had with Emily. He has literally become the thing he hated while he was trying to date Emily. Case 1 hypocrite. Not only that, but let's go a bit deeper into the conversation he had with Marinette when he pulled that trump card about there is this interesting side conversation about which they talk about what it means to be a fashion designer. Marinette talks about how fashion designers need to bring comfort to the wearer of their clothes, and the outfit should be used to make the customer's dreams come true. Gabriel goes pretty much on the opposite tangent in which he says fashion designers should tell people what to wear. Pretty much we are the leaders and they are the followers, and such nice dreams like Marinette's are useless in his career. That's funny because pretty much we know that Gabriel didn't always feel like that. He actually felt quite the opposite, and he found a way similar to Marinette. We know this even more because there was a scene in the season 5 episode Collusion in which Gabriel is trying to turn the mayor, aka Chloe's second butler, into a dictator by using the robots he made. Gabriel and the mayor then go into a conversation about what they were like when they were younger, which we already knew they had a history together because of Audrey, in which the mayor starts describing their past, pretty much describing how they were young artists following their dreams, with the mayor wanting to dabble in movies and Gabriel wanted to design clothes for other people. Which is interesting because the mayor said Gabriel used to design clothes for people and was following his dream, but if you listen to what he said to Marinette, fashion should be the opposite. You don't design clothes for people. You tell people what to wear, whatever you decide design is, and there's no place for dreams. Pretty much opposite to what a younger Gabriel would have believed in, and what Marinette believes in now. Arguably becoming a thing he never wanted to do. Someone that sold out his dreams and pretty much ignores what his potential customers would like. You could say becoming a villain. It's even more interesting when you take into account he used to want to make people happy with his fashion. That's quite funny when you take into account his shadow mouth powers. Powers that are based upon making people sad and using that power to turn them into monsters by wearing his outfits to advance his plans. Every episode is literally him waiting for someone to have some negative emotions, be sad, or even creating situations for them to be sad or mad and using this power, and then using his power. Not only that, he's literally causing citywide damage and scaring people every episode, which is the opposite of a guy that once wanted to make everyone happy with his art and fashion. All in all, as you can see with the Shadow Moth evidence, you either die a hero or live long enough to become a villain. You could even argue that Cat Noir's cataclysm that was decaying his body this whole season was a physical form of the decaying of his soul throughout the years of shutting him off, and that's Adrian's dad, in which he did a lot of things that went against what he once stood for. So that's it for the video. Remember to like and subscribe. Videos posted bi-weekly on Friday, and remember, you are your own worst enemy sometimes.